glasses 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
I just learned in Washington State. And I wear trifocals, so.
Don't worry, the supply chain has you
Hesitate to
covered.
correct me if I read something. What is today? 15?
It's the 15th, but only until midnight.
Say again?
It's the 15th, but only until midnight.
Yeah, so that should give you a clue, Catherine. Before midnight.
Yeah, no extra innings.
All right. It's 5 o'clock on this meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire District Budget Committee will now come to order. Yeah. What do we need to know? All right, Chief, if you want to update us on the water district legalities.
Yes, so yesterday there was a hearing put forth by the Water District to the Superior Court for a motion to dismiss the restraining order and other orders put forth by the court to hold, to make sure that they didn't shut the water off to either the fire stations or any of the fire hydrants. The judge heard arguments from both attorneys and took it under advisement. Current costs, legal fees so far this year are over $16,000, not counting anything that happened
16
yesterday.
or 60?
16,000.
16.
We still are under court order to have a special district meeting to resolve the water district issue. Although, and the fire commissioners have requested to meet with the water commissioners numerous times and have not, they've decided they don't want to meet with us, they just want to pass papers back and forth so far. I think the judge may order a face-to-face meeting between the commissioners so they can have a unified warrant article to go before the special district meeting that will be also, that has been ordered but has not been scheduled yet.
Who are the commissioners now? I know.
Still Chandler.
Chandler and I don't know who,
Arthur DeMoss, but
yes.
I don't know who took Scott's place.
Glenn Brown?
I don't know who,
That's what I heard.
I don't know,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. The last,
I think it's Glenn Brown.
last communication we had from the water district only had 2 signatures on it, and Scott Davis's was not there. So, I expect to hear from our attorney probably within a week or so what the judge's findings were from yesterday's hearing. I expect us to prevail. I don't expect the judge to say, yes, the water company can shut the water back off and shut the fire hydrants off. It's just...
Aren't those 2 separate accounts?
So we have 2 accounts with the water district currently. One account for the Central Street Fire Station and one account for the Park Street Fire Station. The water district has included the pressurized hydrant service on the Park Street Fire Station. It's an account.
But how was it paid? I always paid in the past.
It's always been that way. So when we usually get 2 bills from the water district, and we still continue to get 2 bills. And the one bill is for the domestic service at the Central Street Fire Station, which we pay. And the other bill is the domestic service and the pressurized hydrant service, which is attached to the Park Street.
Okay.
We have been paying all along the domestic portion of that bill, but as you know, the line item for pressurized hydrant service was $0 funded at district meeting, so I can't pay him $1 even if I wanted to. Zero is zero, no means no. So part of their arguments were that before they shut the water off, they said we could arrange a payment method with them, and in fact I cannot. The law says if it's 0 funded, I cannot pay them anything.
But you don't, the district doesn't have a contract with them.
No, you don't, in fact, you don't have to have a contract.
No, but I mean, they haven't agreed to a price, have they?
We went to the district meeting with an agreed 5-year agreement, which
Okay.
the budget committee was
Yeah,
against.
and the commissioners had agreed to that.
And the commissioners had agreed to that. I think
Legislative
that
body
made,
said no, so now they've got to,
so we tried,
Readdress it.
so our commissioners have tried to sit down with their commissioners to hammer out a new agreement, which may be amenable to passing at a district meeting. They're not inclined to do so currently. So if we go to a special district meeting, the warrant article has to go before the judge and be approved by the judge before it we have a public hearing even on the warrant article. So now it's maybe up to the judge what the warrant article will be. Now, whether that warrant article passes or not, I don't know.
Who's the judge?
O'Neill.
You know,
good evening, Eric.
hello.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
The chief was just updating us, you probably know, your commissioner, on what's going on with the water district.
Except for what happened yesterday, just because I wasn't able to log on for that hearing. So.
Yes, so yesterday, the judge heard arguments from both attorneys and said he took it under advisement and will issue a finding or an order or something within a week or two probably. He had a lot of questions about why haven't we had meetings to come to a resolution with the water commission, so he may order a face-to-face meeting. And if that, he will review the warrant article that goes before the special district meeting, and he may impose something within the warrant article, whether it says, we'll start with what we didn't pass, and maybe go up or down, I don't know what he's gonna do, but he will be reviewing the warrant article and approving it before it goes to a public hearing.
Have the commissioners discussed a different agreement? Do they have a different price in mind? Do they have, without revealing anything that's non-public, are they?
We've through the attorney, we've tried to arrange meetings to no avail.
But how do you want independently?
Yeah, I mean, we have discussed some numbers that we would go to a special district meeting with, but, you know, it's like, you can't put a lot into it because we don't know what the commissioners and what the direction of the case was gonna go. But, you know, we have some numbers in mind, but not concrete. So, it's, you know, we've tried to, what was the letter? What did it say in the letter? It was reluctance in the Board of Commissioner, the Water District.
Water district commissioners are not inclined to meet with the fire commissioners.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Now, they were down to 2 members until just recently. So, apparently that, I haven't seen officially, but I've heard that there's been a replacement for someone that resigned from the board.
Yeah, it's too bad we lost Scott Davis, but I understand his reasoning, but.
Yeah. So, I believe the replacement was, what's his name?
Glenn Brown.
Glenn Brown, thank you.
That's what-
Yeah. I wanted to say Murray, but I wasn't in charge. So,
Okay, so, wow, when did they give us a deadline for another meeting?
For a
'Cause,
special district meeting,
we're not that far from the annual meeting, what, 3, 4, or 5 months?
that's true.
Not even that, because it's the first,
we don't know if
Second
it's gonna
Tuesday.
have to be held in 2021.
pardon?
We don't know if it's gonna have to be held in this calendar year, just, you know, or can it be held over into 2022.
Is the judge aware of when the annual meeting
Yeah.
takes place?
The judge is aware of those.
Is he?
He's also aware, one of the pleadings of the water district yesterday was that they're facing a cash crunch because they planned on having the $126,000 from the fire district. Our argument was that they knew that it didn't pass before their water district meeting, and they still made no accommodations for possibly not having that in their budget process. So,
Well, if they're not willing to negotiate, and the legislative body has the final say, I mean, the commissioners could do as much as they want.
Well, we can go up to a point, but.
Yeah, but it's the legislative body, if they say no again,
yeah, if they say no, when and if, not if, but when the special district meeting is held, it'd still be up to the legislative body, which is voters.
It's a
well,
learning experience, because I've never experienced anything like this.
it's unusual. All right, well, thank you. Anybody have any questions, any more questions, discussion? All right. I don't have minutes from last meeting,
You
so,
have everything?
So I just-
Oh, yeah, I left it there.
Yeah.
let's move into the budget. Did, anybody have a specific area of the budget that they wanted to jump right into? Anybody? I mean, so I really appreciate the work you did on this compensation comparison sheet.
Who decided what towns were gonna be used and what were the parameters?
So originally, the commissioners asked me to do a comparison of municipalities in the local area. And that's like in the top grouping. And then I expanded that as I just got more information from other municipalities. But they basically wanted to, and the top section is really the apples to apples type of comparison where the starting salary, holiday pay, what the municipality contributes for a family medical plan, and if they offer a dental or an eye plan. And then if you add all that up, the total compensation would be in the far right-hand column.
Do they do an insurance payout?
Some municipalities do and some do not. Depends
Is
upon.
that on here?
That is not on here, that is not what they asked of me. They asked, those columns are what, so we could have an apples to apples all the way across.
I kind of had the same question Kevin did. Franklin, Guilford, Plymouth, Bristol, Laconia. Population-wise, I don't know what Bristol says, but population-wise, the other four, did they compare with Tilton and Northfield? I got a feeling
So
Franklin
Laconia is
doesn't, Laconia doesn't.
30,000 people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Laconia is 16,000 and change,
Is it?
yes.
And we're what, a little over 7?
No, we're
Almost 8?
closer to 9,000 actually, between the two
Tilton's
municipalities.
3,600, last I knew Northfield was 4 something.
It's just under 5,000.
Yeah,
Just under 5?
yeah.
Okay. So, and area-wise, as far as, you know, mileage, the square.
Square mileage,
Square.
of course, Tilton Northfield is around 41 or 42 square miles. Franklin is about the same. Laconia is about the same. A lot of that's water though. Plymouth is a little bit larger area-wise. Bristol is a little bit smaller area-wise. I should probably have this in front of me.
Why is Belmont not listed on there?
Because they, without doing a 91A, I could not get the information from them.
Public information.
So I personally talked to the chief and emailed the chief 3 times asking for the information. not getting the information for him, I went to the assistant chief and asked her for the information. She said she would get it to me, but then she called me back and referred me to the administrative assistant. So I went to the administrative assistant and asked for the information, and she said she cannot give that out because the fire chief is the only one that's allowed to give that out. So I went back to the fire chief, says, yeah, I'll get it to you sometime. So this went on for like 4 months. Maybe not 4 months, 3 months though.
If it was a week, it was too long.
I understand. So I didn't do an official 91A request because I still have to work with the guy on a number of other things, and so I didn't push it.
I wonder if they submit the information to the wage book that,
So the New
Well,
Hampshire
okay.
Municipal Association, the wage book, it doesn't cover all of the things that we're looking to find.
okay. Just so
It
just
doesn't
like-
even do starting salary for firefighters. It does have, I think, fire chiefs, see, they changed it they only did one, they did one in 2014,
Yeah,
they did one 2 years ago, and the one 2 years ago didn't cover a firefighter.
so on the very top, your starting wage there, it says hourly $17.93. What position is that?
That's a starting firefighter advanced EMT.
Say it again?
Firefighter advanced EMT.
Does anybody else have any questions on that?
So it was the fire commissioners that set the parameters for this study, and they did not include the insurance payout?
No, because they included what the municipality pays for family health plan.
Not every,
Not a single, not a dual plan, they said, what's a family health plan? So we can,
not every town offers the buyout, so it wouldn't be an apples to apples comparison, if I understood the chief correctly.
So that's a perk for us. Yep, we're being, I think from every perspective, this was designed to show that we are underpaying our people. Yet when we do a comparison, we don't compare, you use the term apples to apples. If we don't know if these towns do or don't because we didn't ask. For all we know, they all do. For all we know, none of them do.
Yeah, and I know it's something.
That payout for going somewhere else for insurance is a big deal.
so,
Yeah.
And if I'm making 50 grand a year, and I'm getting 10 for not taking insurance, it's not showing that here. This isn't an accurate study.
it's exactly accurate for what they asked.
Well, and that's the problem with these. You can produce a paper to show anything you want it to show, and we've been told for years that we underpay, we underpay, we underpay. Yet we don't have all the cards on the table.
For instance, the Laconia is currently offering incentives, and we did not include that.
So how did we compare to Laconia? They're a lot bigger department heads.
The reason we included them is because they're in our local marketplace, we have to compete with them for employees.
Yeah, but you have to understand, you can't compete with everyone.
No, but you should be in the middle of what everybody is around you, at least. You shouldn't be at the bottom, we're not looking to be at the bottom, we're not looking to be at the top, we're looking to be right in the middle. And if if you're in the middle, you can be competitive. If you're not, if you're at the bottom, you're not gonna be competitive. You're gonna be losing employees.
You won't retain,
Or
that's,
you won't be able to even get employees sometimes.
I guess the other thing that's hard to nail down is these are all like base salaries.
Yes.
It doesn't show an average, so if we give out crap loads of OT, and
And
these
we're
other
overtime,
towns,
which is
and the other towns are
230,000.
restricted, if you're limited and they cap your OT, I know we spend a lot of money on overtime.
Overtime's, we got 10 people? I don't know, we got one then.
12, we have 16 people that are eligible to work overtime.
I don't think any of them are making
So is there
39
additional,
grand. I think that
is there
package it
additional,
on, what's there?
additional information you want the chief to provide?
The total cost to have an employee on the books.
So,
Salary, benefits, insurance payout, overtime, whatever else we pay them for.
I'd like to just see what our department's W-2s look like at the end of the year. All in.
Right.
Because we can, right?
W-2,
Yeah, at the end of the year, what's the W-2's wages?
I don't know if I
Oh.
can ask for somebody else's W-2.
I don't know, I mean,
I don't.
without their names on it, or what's their average, what's the average?
You know the number.
Well, some towns in their annual report will list all the town employees and what they earn.
Well, the school district does that.
The school, yeah, but I think other towns.
Yeah, they do,
do
town
that.
reports do it.
You can do your own study if you like.
It's not my job to do the study.
Or we can ask the department head to provide the information,
I can try and get the information.
but, so you want the gross wage?
Give me all your parameters and I'll try and get that information.
It's really simple. I like, screw your names. I've been calling Justin's Jason and Jason's Justin
Oh,
for 6 months.
I've been called worse. So,
So like, for example, overtime, even though there's a line item in the budget for overtime, it may not be equally distributed between every, say, you have 10 employees and $100,000 overtime, each employee doesn't get $10,000.
no, but I guess I'm looking at averages. What's an average, okay, an average firefighter one with 0 to 5 years is, what's higher, a 1 or a 2? Whether they come in at a 1 or, what's the lower grade of firefighter?
So we hire firefighter
Twos.
advanced EMT.
Okay. What's the average W-2 for a 0 to 5 years? What's the average for a 5 to 10 year? Then you kind of smoothen out the data.
I didn't take this.
So that's the gross wage.
But you have to compare
Oh, I'm sorry.
other organizations with same number of employees, same.
When I used to compare the police departments, trying to figure out, where ours kind of stood, I looked at communities, I mean, of course, it's different than the fire department, but I looked at communities, population, average income, I looked at a lot of things, and I looked at the budget, the gross budget for the town, to see if it was similar to ours.
So
And I
all that-
looked at,
I agree, that's what spoke of the wheel,
square
but
mileage.
I see what the chief's saying. Hey, I'm a young person, I want to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a firefighter since I've been in 2nd grade. All right, I want to be a firefighter. Where can I go and make the most? Well, geez, I don't want to go to Tilton if they're paying the lowest. I want to get, I want to still be close to my family, but where can I make the most money? They're always going to try to go to get a job at the place where they make the most money.
But aren't they
Or-
also going to look at a community that does more rapid advancement?
Right.
Well, it depends on the
More
individual
chance
though,
of
so it's,
advancement?
you
There's a
know.
lot of things that make a job attractive.
Right.
Eric brought up incentives that, you know.
Well, I'll give you some recent experiences, because I have the advantage of being on 2 boards that have gone through, and you just brought up the police. So in Tilton, and I'm only speaking from Tilton's perspective, and I'll keep as much of it as vague as possible, but we recently just filled the SRO position, and there were a couple of applicants from outside the area, but some of these officers, their move wasn't necessarily about the money, it was about the quality of life. Meaning, one was working, I don't know what that part of the state is called, the Upper Valley, Lebanon area?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Upper Valley, was working there. Now, the town, I don't know how many, or if any of you are familiar with the town of Enfield.
Yep.
I don't know a lot about Enfield, but what would you say, what would you estimate a police officer with 5 years' experience would be earning in the town of Enfield?
Do you know that number?
I do.
18, 20?
It should be,
18, 20?
it should be 22, 24,
28.
28.
28.
And then feels a small community.
And
Very
it's a small
rural.
community. So in the town of Northfield, or Tilton, I'm in the town of Northfield right now.
you know, right now.
Yeah. The town of
You think,
the town of Tilton, through this process, because we've had tremendous turnover in our police department, we discovered that at the higher ranks, we compete very well for salary, but at the lower ranks, we don't. So, you know, we had several candidates, and it came down to not what the insurance was, not what the benefits was, but what is in their pocket at the end of the day or at the end of the week on payday. What are they earning? And I see that here. Like when he kind of expanded this, like the town of Carroll, I was surprised at that number. Because I'm kind of familiar. I mean, that's Twin Mountain, Brighton Woods, and they just built I don't know if it's a life safety complex, but they had a garage basically and a police station that they just they built a new building for both, and I don't believe they have 24-hour coverage, but to see that was what but they have, if there's an accident up there or something like that, you get a lot of people that respond, because I think it's mostly volunteer. They may have people, 7-7 type deal.
Well, you must have some career people, because that's what.
Yeah, but I think it's like in Samerton where they have coverage, 12 hours a day, or in Gilmanton, they don't have full 24-hour coverage. But this has been argued, I don't want to say argued, discussed amongst the commissioners, because we've had people leave for greener pastures, and we've had people come back for the same pastures that they left. And it came down to part of it is quality of life, that they one career firefighter recently came back after being closer to home. But one thing about firefighters that I know, they travel more. They'll travel further, like to Manchester, because they're on for 24 hours and then they're off for 48. So it's not like you driving on a Concord every day.
Right.
Or
you going to Rochester or maybe
Plymouth, Plymouth. I go to Plymouth every day.
Yeah.
Right, and it's the daily grind. Yesterday, but so they have a different. They can do their. Oh, he's stuck.
Yeah, I couldn't get in there either.
So.
Charging $8.
You know what the gate fee is here?
Well, I don't know. What's Carol charge?
Toll.
chief to provide? Sounds like gross.
Yeah, gross average, even, you know, without getting into,
But the hard thing, if you get like, if you look up information and say in town report and see that, you know, oh, that, if you just look at it, but you don't know necessarily their rank, their length of service or anything like that, so.
I will say that when this started, this committee was formed, I'm gonna say Gretchen had all the salaries of all the firefighters by name, rank, file, the whole, she had it when we started in year one. You know, it's available, it's obtainable. I'd just like to see averages and, you know, trends, but.
So, one of the emphasis of doing this is that starting wage that we offer firefighters here is below everybody that I'm aware of. And everything goes off your starting wage.
Right.
How you get your increases after that and stuff like that. But the starting wage is how you are able to attract good employees and keep good employees. And it's where you're starting. And looking at it, before I even did the study, I said, look what we're trying to get these guys to do. We hire these folks and give them a ton of responsibility to save lives, protect property, and we're starting them at $17 and change an hour, where they could go somewhere else easily and get much better salary. 401k, if you want to go to the Walmart warehouse in Raymond, they're starting folks at $24 and change an hour with 401k and benefits. I personally wouldn't want to do that, but if I was looking to put food on the table, and if that was my goal, that's probably where I'd be.
And 12-hour shifts, to your point, it's not, you can work 3 12s and be done and not be doing.
It's so.
For the mileage, you know, it's more bang for the buck to drive down and back for a 12-hour shift.
So driving back from Concord today, I was testifying in Concord today on a matter. But anyways, on the way back, I look at, what's the asphalt company on 106 in Belmont on the left?
Yeah.
$30 an hour, start.
Yeah.
And we're paying these guys who save people's lives $17 and change an hour. I think at a minimum, it should be $20 an hour, probably more, given the responsibility of what we require of these folks. Now, I realize we still have to balance that against, you know, the taxpayers' needs and wants, and what they can afford and what they maybe can't afford. So I tried to stay within our current wage and step scale, and in my budget, I put the starting pay at less than $20 an hour. It's $19, I forget the exact cents. But I think that's the bare minimum of where we should be. I mean, it's for what we're asking these people to do and the responsibilities that we put on them, I think that's a fair starting wage. Especially when you go other places, not have that responsibility, and get a lot better pay.
So we asked them to do this, as you said, but it's also what they want to do.
Yes.
It's what they aspire to do.
Yep, it's true.
So,
Just because they want to do it doesn't mean that we shouldn't pay them for what it's worth.
Didn't we have also another, like a document that showed all of like the little stipends, like if they had this certification it was an extra $1, if they did this it was another $1?
That's for the call company.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought, I remember seeing something that, I thought there was extra skill sets that could be added onto your base,
Yeah,
but that's strictly call?
that's strictly for the call.
there's not one that, for the career people too, that would go from,
I thought there was.
well, it's,
No, the
it
only
used to be
difference,
basic, intermediate.
yeah, so the only difference now is paramedics get more money than an advanced EMT. And they get 10% more
Yeah.
because they're a paramedic.
Okay.
When you do a budget and you see things trending to increase, and things that you want to do, feel like we need to do, that cost more money. Do you look at other things we do that maybe we don't need to do or we could do less of, that we could cover some of these additional costs with?
Absolutely. The problem this year, especially this year, is everything is going up. Gasoline, diesel, utilities, all of that has gone up. And according to Consumer Price Index, I forget what the percentages are, but like gasoline and diesel going up precipitously. As you can probably tell when you go to the pump.
I've noticed in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, that goes up for everybody.
it does.
And the good thing is, we don't pay the tax.
That's true.
So all it goes up is 40 cents less than anyone else pays, or whatever it is.
Right, we have the WEX, I think everybody, all municipalities.
Yeah,
have the
that's a
WEX
great system.
Unless they have their own.
So, it's going up for me and everyone else. So we pay this increase, we pay the town increase, we pay the school increase, plus we end up paying all our own increases as well.
Mhm.
But most people's salaries are not going up with those increases.
Right, but we're being asked to increase that.
No, I know that, but it's, you know, yeah, everything's going up. My employees that live in the district of the co-op, they just got notices, they've been approved for a 17% rate increase. You know, and they're making $4 an hour cleaning rooms. And now they're worried about how they're gonna keep their lights on all winter because their electric bill's gonna go up 17%.
I just got my oil bill, they topped off the tank. It was $2.69 all summer. I drive by, it was $2.89. They didn't fill me on either of those. They waited until it went to $3.04. Then they came around with the truck, topped me off. I went to go pay the bill, and it's $3.14 overnight. Dime. That's the cash price.
Did you propose, I mean, it looks like you proposed an increase in your career salary and wages.
Yes.
What was the percentage? Did you use a
I
percentage?
didn't use a percentage. I started with, I want to be at $20 an hour, and I actually didn't work out the percentage.
So
But
you're
I
from-
found where, not somewhere near $20 an hour in our waging scale, and plugged that in, it was $19.87, or 78 cents, or something like that.
So that's
I don't
what you
have the-
increased the 1793 to?
Yes,
To 19?
87, it comes to mind.
All right. Did you increase any of the other wages or just the starting?
So, no, everything went in. So the starting wage, everything went up the same amount,
The same percentage?
same percentage, yeah. Well, everybody stayed the same square that they were in the wage and step scale.
Okay. Now, we had that Safer grant last year, right, that offset those employees?
Yes,
And we have that this year to offset those employees?
yes, and next year.
And if I'm remembering, was it 100%?
It covers 100% of the cost of a first-year firefighter. So, basically, they gave us almost $1 million, and we have 3 years to spend that $1 million. And in my mind, I broke that equally up into 3 chunks evenly. Well, it's really not the way we're using it. The first year, we're not using it anywhere near 1/3 of what I thought it would be. So we have a balance that will go towards the second year. And in the third year, there may be money where the municipality has to kick in. Or we may still have a balance because as career firefighters have left us, we've hired people with more at the starting wage. And so it's, we're not using what I thought we would be using. So we have a balance right now. And a lot of the newer guys are either single or opt out in the insurance, where they give us more money for insurance. But they don't care if we spend it on insurance or salaries. They say, here's the money, spend it for 3 years, and these are your parameters. They have what you can and can't spend it on. So we can spend it on benefits, we can spend it on salaries, things like that. We can't spend it on uniforms. We can't spend it on physicals. But other than that, we can pretty much,
How many positions do we have?
full-time positions, so we have 12 firefighter positions, 4 captain positions.
No, I mean, so you have firefighter positions, and then you have
Captains,
captain positions, and then you have,
the deputy chief and myself.
so you have 4 positions?
So there's the firefighter, advanced EMT, then there's firefighter paramedic, which is, they're rank-wise, they're the same.
Pay
Pay-wise, a paramedic gets paid more than advanced.
Okay, so you could, that's 2 positions,
Yeah. Then we have captains,
okay?
and one of the captains is a paramedic. So he gets 10% more than what a captain who wasn't a paramedic.
Okay,
Then there's the deputy chief,
okay,
and then there's myself. That does not include Kathy or part-time.
yeah, those are administrative, right? 1, 2. So you have 6
Six what?
positions.
Levels of,
Oh,
Six titles.
Titles, thank you. And you increased all of those?
Yes.
Is your wage by contract?
Mine, it started by contract, but I get, whatever the employees get is, I get. So if they get 2% raise, I get a 2%. If they get a 50% raise, I get a 50% raise. Not like.
It would seem unfair. Okay. Now, within those positions, when you looked at them and compared it with this, because this only shows 2 positions,
Right.
or titles, I like it better. Were they all getting less than the surrounding communities? I mean, so our starting hourly at $17.93 reporting is the lowest on this page for these communities.
Yes.
Did you find that with the others?
So the only other position that the commissioners asked me to look for, and that was after we already did this part, was starting pay for a captain.
Was that captain?
So that's
you
where I
didn't
did that on the
compare others.
column,
Okay,
and that's below, and you can see our captain started $22.70 an hour.
Yeah.
And Franklin started $25 an hour, Guilford is $29.33.
yeah,
Plymouth gets 10% more than a firefighter, whatever the firefighter is making, like it's Bristol gets 16% more. They couldn't give me a number because it depends on what that person was making beforehand. And you can see here what the others that I found.
okay.
does anybody ever really start as a captain at that starting captain wage? Well, I would think that with the years of experience, they'd probably be making more.
So they should be making more. And
They wouldn't.
in
go
my
down.
experience, none of them have actually started at that rate.
Yeah.
They started at a higher rate, closer to $24, $25 an hour. Because they've been here so long.
Right.
It just, they would be making less money if you, because of where they were as a firefighter.
Yeah.
And you get promoted, you go backwards in pay, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
So how do you give them anything to
I
be a
just move
captain?
them down into the captain's column from where they are.
Yeah,
And I make sure they're getting a pay raise, but it's not a lot.
yeah.
It's like 2.5%.
I figured it'd be tough to do with because you gotta be around a while to, you know,
Yes.
have your credentials and, you know, earn the position, so, all right.
So we don't know where those other 4 titles or positions were comparatively. You gave them the increase that you gave the starting position of the captain, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay? You get your hand in your throat.
Okay. So sometimes you find the starting position is too low and it hasn't been increased, but the others may not have been too low.
Usually, what I've found when I've asked other chiefs how this goes, if the starting pay is low, the whole pay scale is low throughout, because all the pay scales, unless somebody has a private contract, are based from the starting pay scale, working their way up through. Now, if somebody's been, for example, the last captain that was just retired in Guilford, he retired as a captain and he had 30 years on the job. His base salary was $85,000 a year, not counting overtime. And the chief said when he made like $140,000 last year. So, but that's an outlier.
Well, you're right, and that's where I was going to make my point is the starting salary is the starting salary of somebody with no experience, is it not? They may have training.
So anybody
it's
that starts at our fire department starts at the starting salary.
There you go. But these other positions, they would be hard to compare because, you know, our person in that second position could have years of experience and our deputy chief could have years of experience where their deputy chief doesn't. So it'd be difficult to compare
Yes.
apples to apples, I should say.
So some people advance in rank quicker than others, so they you know.
And
I know a gentleman in Concord, he was an assistant chief within 8 years because of his ambition and qualifications. He stayed as a firefighter in 8 years, where the other assistant chief that they have in Concord, it took him 20 years to get to that position.
well, thank you, and that's another point. So my next question is, somebody that starts out at that 1793 in Tilton Northfield, how long or what do they have to achieve to advance to the next position?
To a captain's position.
Well, you had there was an in-between
It
position.
was a
One was
paramedic.
EMT and the other was paramedic?
Yeah, so paramedic, they have to go to more schooling. That's if they can either go by themselves. There have been occasions where the department pays for somebody to go to paramedic school because we need paramedics. If we pay for them to go to paramedic school, we make them sign a contract saying that they will stay for 5 years to alleviate themselves of their obligation to pay us back for that. It is prorated, so if they stay 4 years, they still have to pay us like 1/5 of the cost.
So how long would it take them to complete a paramedic's training
It's 2
and
years.
advance to that wage?
It's usually 2 years.
Okay.
But not all of them want to be a paramedic, and not all of them are paramedics.
Okay.
We currently have 4 paramedics at the firefighter level and 1 paramedic at the captain level.
How many EMTs?
Everybody's in the
Really?
Yes.
I don't know the difference.
So, So if you want to look at another medical profession, you could say everybody at the fire department is a registered nurse, but 5 of them are doctors too.
No. That's quite a jump,
It is a tight jump.
but thank you, that's an analogy.
Drugs and no drugs.
Well, no, the advanced EMTs can do drugs, but they can't do the cardiac drugs and the paralytics and things like that. There's a lot more responsibility in the drugs that they can administer. They can do cardiac pacing where advanced EMTs can only defibrillate.
So do we have a starting wage for all of these positions? Well, let's leave out chief, because that's kind of a different, I
So,
related to like chief of police.
um,
So do we, so if I came in and,
so the deputy chief is a salaried position as well. It's not, he doesn't earn overtime. And I don't, he's not in the pay scale. So the only people that are in the pay scale are the firefighters, people who do the, are on line, not staff.
okay, so you have what, 4 positions in that?
Yes, you could say that.
And
So
you-
there's a firefighter, paramedic firefighter, captain, paramedic captain.
Is the paramedic captain unusual?
You don't go out and hire a paramedic captain, they just become a,
Right.
they
Well, that's what I
get
mean.
promoted, they've been a paramedic before they become a captain.
Okay, that's what I
And so they maintain that
And we have one?
one.
So do you have a starting salary for the captain position if you had to go outside of your employee pool?
So if we were to, this would be highly unlikely because we're starting next Thursday, we're having a promotional process for firefighters who want to become a captain. So we do that every 3 years. And so we already have a list ready for internal candidates to become a captain. And give them the additional training so that they can step in at any time once they get that training and experience and stuff like that. So if we had to hire a captain from the outside, I would have to look at what his experience was, what and all that stuff. But I don't see that that would be likely to happen.
So the 2270 is really just kind of irrelevant.
That's from the pay and wage scale that was done in.
You're never gonna promote anybody into that rate, and you're
Probably
never gonna
not.
street hire anybody into that rate.
It would be difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would
because
be
you'd have
impossible. Nobody would take
internal,
it.
you'd have internal candidates.
Nobody would
that-
take it.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, it's almost like, why even have that on the books?
So
Well,
with that said, then our captain wages that are being paid now could be very comparable to these other communities.
they're probably still less than what other communities pay because the starting salary for a captain in other communities is a little bit higher, as is the starting wage in the other communities higher. It'd be unlikely that we're paying our captains more than the captains in Franklin, for example, because they start them off at higher in everything.
So
So if I was to go, and try to, I guess a best comparison would be, if I took all our captains of this and averaged up their salaries, and took all of Franklin's captains and averaged up their salaries and come up with a number for each, that might be a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at almost $100,000 increase.
Yes, that's correct.
And in all actuality, if you add the increases from holiday pay and overtime, it is.
That's
Well,
$100,000.
so there's the thing, so I'm hip to the argument of trying to attract new, so the starting rate is not attractive to somebody new coming in, brand new to the career. So I'm hip to that argument, but in order to right that wrong, you have to shift the whole department. Everybody's gonna get an increase. Essentially is what we're saying, is we're not just gonna up the base rate for the new folks. You have to you're gonna slide everybody up $1.50.
We just filled how many openings
I know,
at this rate?
yep. 4.
4. We filled 4. I'll say it again, we filled 4. We're not lacking.
We filled 4 last year.
Right, how many we got now?
Yeah, I hope
We
we're
don't have
not
any
filling
openings
anymore.
currently. We currently do not have any openings.
So,
But the other thing you have to look at is that these are safer employees. There's no guarantee for them to have a job at the end of this because nobody said that they're gonna have a job. Nobody's guaranteed them a job because if the grant, when the grant runs out, there's no guarantee that we have to keep them on.
Did they all sign documents to that effect?
They're all aware of it.
They're, okay, so
So-
they're, yeah.
So, we've given them a year of training now, well, not quite, but almost a year of training. Currently, and I told the commissioners, I don't have that list in front of me, there are 33 communities in the state of New Hampshire right now, currently, asking for 1 or more firefighters, because the scarcity of trained firefighters in the state of New Hampshire is striking. We have no incentive to keep these employees have no incentive to stay here. If they can go to Derry or to Concord, who both have openings right now, and we're paying much more. The incentive we have here right now is that we're a good department. We take good care of our employees. I'd like to say we have good leadership there, we have good training program. Not so much for the safer staff, because we don't pay for any of their training except what's mandated. So if they want to go and better further their career, unless I can get it through a grant or something like that, the commissioners are afraid to pay for, they've taken the position that they don't want to pay for any additional training for the safer employees. So everybody else in the department can take additional training, we pay for that, but the safer employees, we're not going to do that. So it's a little inequity there, so it's almost an incentive. We'll hire you, we'll keep you for a year, and then when all these other positions open, you're just going to go, and they're going to be hired, because they've worked a year at Tilton Northfield at a good department. They know they've gotten good training, internally trained, and they're just incentivized to leave after a year. I want to keep these employees. We've put a lot of time and effort into getting to where we want them to be. I don't want them to leave in a year.
So it
And at
sounds
the
like
end of 3 years, I don't want to lose all 4 of them either. I still want us to maintain these.
So is that a flaw in the safer grant system? That they
No.
didn't, that there's no money to do for them what you would have done to the rest of the line? You're saying that
No,
the training's not
I'm
paid?
thinking it's a policy within the fire district.
Oh,
so this training that you do, so you have an internal list
Of training. We do training every week,
of people who want to become a captain.
3. They're gonna go through the process.
Right, so, and we're gonna need 3 captains when?
The next opening that I'm aware of will be when I retire in May of '24. And right after that, I think Captain Ames is going to retire, so there'll be 2 openings within this 3-year period
So
for internal.
you do that now, you spend that money. There's no knowing that those are gonna be your next captains.
I don't understand your question.
So you got 3 people who said, hey, I wanna be a captain.
Right.
So we're gonna spend the money to train them to be a captain. There's nothing saying they're gonna be the next captain.
It'll be one of those 3, or 2 of those 3.
There's nothing saying they're gonna be here next year.
They could leave and go somewhere else, I suppose, but
Sure,
we still have to have a continual operation plan, a COOP plan. If we don't have a COOP plan, if we don't have people trained and ready to go when people leave, we're really in a hole.
We training someone to be deputy chief and chief?
Yes. We are.
In anticipation of them having the deputy's chief, the deputy's job and the chief's job. When neither one of them are open, and they're not gonna be open for 3 years.
So you still train people to take those positions. You have to. I could die tomorrow.
Don't be doing that.
I don't plan on it, believe me. I want to do plenty of living
You're doing
beyond this. But, what's to say that maybe I find a fire chief's job somewhere else and find it more attractive? And, okay, here's my 30-day notice, or 60, whatever, I think, whatever my contract calls for. You have to fill that role. We have somebody ready to fill that role, or we want, as close to it as we can anyways. And then say it's the deputy chief. So he fills the role, he moves up. We need someone to fill the deputy's chief role. So we
That's
have
all
to
part
train
of the
people to
job
do
of
that as well.
managing.
So there's no inclination or indication that any of those jobs will go to someone outside?
Not currently. And what you were probably there when I get sworn in. I think one of the things I said in my swearing in speech is that I hope that I'm the last fire chief from the outside that you have to hire. I'm going to train the folks that are in my department to assume that role. Now, there are times when you should hire from the outside. But we don't have that type of department where we should need to hire from the outside. Those departments are broken, and they've been broken for years, and they've tried to hire from the inside, and they're still broken. An example would be like Worcester, Mass, where they continually have firefighter fatalities, making the same mistakes over and over and over. Until they got a new chief from the outside recently, which you have to change the culture of what's going on in there. We have a good culture here. We have a strong, good, united culture that fosters training and safety and service to the community. You don't need to hire from the outside.
What was the, it's gotta be here somewhere. What was the 21 total budget? 2.9?
Yeah, right here, appropriated 2.940367.
First page, right here.
Bottom of page
Right there,
2.
yeah.
2,943.67.
Yep.
Your net proposal is, yep,
2811708, according to this, but I don't know if everything's in it.
so that tells me
Let me see, everything on my column is in.
that's less.
Well, there are other things that went down. Insurance went down 8.1%.
But
Yeah,
there's insurance that we might go up 9% on, we don't know, we haven't gotten that number.
So, yeah, but that's a far smaller number.
Yeah.
You don't have anything in the executive line. You had 7,500 in it last year.
So that's,
21.
the executive line is what the appointed, the elected officials. That's up to the commissioners to decide what they want to pay the elected officials. I don't decide that, so I don't put anything on that line. That's like the agreement with the water district.
The pressurized hydrants.
I don't put, that's an agreement between the commissioners and we don't have an agreement in place.
Well,
So
it's
it's
not
up to them to
applicable.
put a number there. Unless they tell me the number they want there, then I'll put it there, but.
Not applicable. I have a question in repairs as I look through this, because for me personally, when I was looking for places to cut, it was hard to find some. So vehicle repairs, now we replaced more than one vehicle.
Yeah, so we're in the process currently of replacing 3 vehicles. The 3 most expensive of vehicles, we're in the process of replacing. Engine 1, which has been traded in, but we still don't have the new truck in service yet because we had to take all the equipment off engine 1 and they're mounting it on the new engine 2 currently, so there wouldn't be anything to have engine 1 here for. And if we did run it, it would probably break anyways.
So we're just flying on engine 3 right now,
That's correct.
with our fingers crossed.
Yes. And there has been a couple of days because engine 3 was in an accident,
I saw the front end,
yeah,
yeah.
where we were running the ladder first too,
Oh.
until we get everything squared away in the front of the engine.
But then you also have Laconia on.
Yeah, so we moved other fire departments up on automatic aid to help us out with personal line assignments, so they're coming sooner than
And what are the 2 other vehicles we're replacing?
engine 3, which will be in service probably by August, or during August of next year,
Yeah,
because I'm scheduled to go out to do the final inspection at the factory next July. So I imagine August. And A2, which should be, I talked to the dealer for the ambulance, and that's coming March, April, hopefully no later than May.
What did we end up getting?
The same thing, so both engines are identical and.
No, I mean for ambulance.
It's a Ford F-550 Horton, it's exactly the same as A1.
4-wheel drive,
Four-wheel drive,
diesel.
diesel.
You just had to do it, man.
I know,
You gotta spend that money.
I know. It's because our other one was having problems with throwing def codes, so let's stay in the diesel world.
Well,
For all the pushing and pulling we do, right?
The current A1 is a diesel and hasn't had any diesel
Yeah.
problems whatsoever. The A2 that we're replacing is a diesel. That was the first year that diesel was in production for that Chevy chassis.
We use 4-wheel drive a lot.
Enough,
Yeah.
yes.
what did we spend $17,293 repairing on 21E3? Isn't that the one that's leaving?
That'll leave next year.
And we spent $17,290, what did we do to it?
If I had my
Must
computer.
have been significant.
Oh, it breaks a lot.
You know what, that's the GM chassis, right, that was bought?
No, that was the engine 3, it's a,
Oh, the engine, I thought she said ambulance.
don't stop me on the GM chassis because we just had to spend a ton of money on the front end of that, and they actually wanted to replace the whole front end, and I said, replace what you need to replace to make it safe.
So,
21E1 that we, no, but
That's,
the 21E3 we spent $17,293 on.
yep,
Okay. And we only raised and appropriated $5,958, I understand it's a
Well-
bottom line budget, but,
No, Catherine, keep in mind that when he does that budget, so see the top of that section where it says vehicle repairs and others?
I was gonna ask about that one.
Well, what he first does is he lists all the PMs and things like that he knows have to happen on that vehicle, and that's what is appropriated next to, in this case, 21E3.
yes.
And then that other top amount, as he makes repairs, he takes it from that line. and-
That's an aggregate to apply to all the trucks.
Yeah.
Right, but this is October, I don't know what's the date on this. Yeah, it's October 14th, as of, we've only spent $51 out of that.
No, that's what
No.
we have. That's what's left.
That's, so,
Okay, so that's the actual what's left, not spent.
I don't know what's left, but it's,
I'm looking at that as spent. So you go $51 left. You spent,
page 8.
we appropriated 23,904.
yes. So of that appropriation,
So-
somehow $51 of that appropriation has been marked as vehicle repairs other. All the other money has been attributed to other vehicles in one way or another.
You know, I ran into this, I think, last year too, that line is not in sync with the others.
So,
If this is what we spent below it, that should, 51 should be what we spent.
yeah, if you look
Not
at,
what's left.
if you look at the very bottom,
I see it 46, 465
yes, that's how much we've spent so far
out of the 60.
out of the 60.
I see that.
That number's gonna go down next year as well, because we won't have to spend all kinds of money on engine one, because we'll have a new engine, which will only require normal PM and the rust inhibitor underneath it. And then when the new engine one comes in next year, we won't have to keep repairing engine three, because that's getting traded in. And when the new ambulance comes in, we won't have to have the front end and the def done on A2 every other month. Well, the def is every month, the brakes and front end on A2 is constantly needing attention.
Did you say one of these we've already received?
No, it's at the dealership, we should have it very shortly,
Okay,
within a week or two.
so we'll have it
Still needs to go and have the radios put in it and stuff like that.
before January.
We'll have it within a month.
And which number is that, 21?
That'll be 21 engine 2 is the new one. Replacing old 21 engine 1.
Because I see repair monies in all of these lines, and if something is new, why do we have repair monies in there for it?
So it's repairs and maintenance.
I
so-
thought that was up in the vehicle repairs, other was the maintenance.
No,
No,
it's the opposite.
it's actually the opposite.
Oh my God.
All the maintenance, all the stuff that I know that we have to do for a vehicle is what's listed beside each vehicle.
Okay,
And then all the breakage
Is the other.
is the
so
other.
the other is the just in case.
Yes.
That's the, yeah, that's the well, spread across everything.
And what's the piggy bank? Okay, thank you for clarifying that. $4,246 seems like an awful lot of maintenance. I don't know what maintenance is involved in a fire truck, but
So I don't have one of the bills with me, so it usually goes for a PM twice a year. And that's expensive, what they go through, it's changing all the fluids, well, not all of them, but the oils, the grease, the inspections, is usually, they inspect the pump transfer.
so there's a
case.
lot more on one of those than a public works vehicle. Is
Yes,
that what you're telling me?
there's a lot more systems on that than.
That have to be inspected and
Yes.
filtered and fueled and replaced. Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Oh,
Do you want to stay here any longer?
no,
All right. I don't know if I'm phone here, so I can't look at calendar. When do you want to meet again? In 2 weeks?
I'm going on vacation.
I guess it's kind of, this, we're getting to the point where we're still doing our own thing, but do we pivot or align with the commissioners moving forward on their budget, or does it matter?
Where are the commissioners on the budget at?
We're, I think we're pretty well through it. We still have the salaries to discuss. That's going to be a topic at the next meeting.
We have
I think
the,
26th.
we have a proposed budget. And we certainly can review this to see where we may want to make cuts, et cetera, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's areas like IT that they were still waiting for numbers for, so we haven't gone through that.
So we have those numbers now. They're in this sheet, but you guys have this.
Right. So I just saw that, oh, that number changed.
You know, comparing it with last year's expenses, formulated questions like, why is this going up from last year, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I think by early November, should be completed with our review of the budget.
So do we want to meet the first Friday in November or the second Friday in November? My suggestion, if we go
Fifth
to
or
the
the
second
12th.
Friday, that we all study
Second,
this and be prepared to have
second Friday in
questions.
November, I'll be out of town.
So
Because
fifth?
Veterans Day is the 11th,
Yep.
and that's the weekend. I'll be up in North Conway.
I actually may not be here on the 12th.
The second Friday?
Yeah, I mean, my parents have something in Jersey they may have to be at, and I would be their driver.
So how about the first Friday?
The first Friday, that was good.
First Friday, Chief?
Something right now.
November 5th.
Everybody good with November 5th?
Yep.
Okay.
5 o'clock here.
November 5th, okay.
5 o'clock.
Pardon?
5. Or
Yeah, unless you want to change, everybody wants to change that, or the majority. Is everybody still good
My
with
life
5
should still
o'clock?
have momentum.
Pardon?
My work
All
will slow
foliage
down.
will be over by then.
Yeah, and then we go into hockey mode.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the date?
I'm trying for sale, but they're good enough. But the
11/5, at 5.
wedding.
Okay,
All right.
so my suggestion is everybody goes over this proposed budget.
I don't. We're just moving on.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Somebody wants a block of them.
Yeah.
More information you want about it, et cetera. Chief, you're going to get more information that they ask for on the salary.
So I'm not exactly clear exactly what they want.
Okay.
Because
they're taking.
I need to be exact, because when I ask these other fire chiefs exactly what they want,
Yeah, right.
it requires work on their part, and their work takes precedence over my request a lot of time, which I understand.
And Jason,
But
do you
if
have?
anything you're asking is gonna require a lot of work of the other fire chiefs, it's gonna be slow coming back. Just saying. Because they're not gonna drop what they're doing
No,
to
of course not.
figure out averages of their captain's salary or something like that.
No.
Well, I can tell you the better product you can provide, the better your chances are of improving.
Yeah, and if the the number of, it said, hey, our captains make an average of this, and they have an average number of this many years on the job, then it's like, oh, okay.
I understand the more information, it makes it easier to make a decision.
Yeah, and even if it's averaged and smooth and, not line, but, hey, in this region, they pay an average of this.
What do they make in Sanford? What do they start at there?
I have no idea. Samberton
It's
is
a
a
little different.
department that doesn't
I know it's
compare
kind of
with
different,
us.
but they
It's very small.
spend a lot of
Huh?
Yeah, they don't have 24/7 either, right?
No, they're
money.
not.
No.
They have two career firefighters and the chief. the two career firefighters, only one of them's on at a time, and they work,
12
just,
hours something, I think.
it might be 12 hours, yeah,
Yeah.
7 to 7 or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
And they split it up, so that there's two, they average 42 hours a week like a normal firefighter's thing is, but they just work in days. And I think he's got one open right now, because he can't fill it.
Bernie Chapman.
Pardon?
Bernie Chapman's grandson is one of them.
Yes, that's
All
correct.
right,
Motion to adjourn, is that what
we all
you're
set?
looking for?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6:21. Left
Just
top,
emailed everybody.
stop.
Never called. Never, nothing for.
All right.
Yeah, me in.
This is good.